Hey, Vinny Malkus Outdoors. Man, I've had just this allergy season has just been intense. Like I've been out of it for well over a week here. Just barely functioning. But think I got things under control. But I just wanted to give a quick update before I do any other kind of video about what's going on the Colorado River chain, which is my favorite chain of lakes. Um, as you know, I think I've done a video on it just recently about the water levels. And, Lake Mead, of all things, one of my favorite bodies of water, and Lake Powell is my favorite body of water. The unprecedented drawdowns in water. And I think I mentioned, if you've probably seen in the news, there's been a couple of bodies and some other human remains found in Lake Mead, which, brings up a lot of other stories. But so what's been going on with me? So we'll get into that real quick. What else? Well, I've been dead pretty much, and I need to go fishing. But the weather, whenever my allergies aren't off the wall where I can barely open my eyes, it's been raining like cats and dogs where I'm at currently. But anyway, the other thing is I was trying to get a whole, stock up on a few lures, some. I don't want to spend that much money, but I wanted to get a few things for flipping and whatnot. I was going over to Yamamoto baits, and there's been a couple of my favorite lures that have been discontinued. I didn't realize it since the buyout, and I tried to get a hold of them. I can't get a hold of them right now. For some reason, they haven't replied to my messages. Just to ask them about what's going on with, like, if you're not familiar, this Shanshou, I can never pronounce it. The salamander bait. That seems to be gone. The California roll, all their spaytail lures are gone. There was a couple other ones that I was looking for. Oh, the mermaid, that seems to be gone as well. I think it's the mermaid because they came out with mermaid and the cowboy at one time, and the mermaid's gone. I'm trying to find ways to procure, some of those, or maybe even try to get the molds, or I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm trying to get into contact with them. I'm going to continue. Anyway, let's get on the Lake Powell and Mead and whatnot. So we've heard about the power, power generator. I think I brought that up. The water intakes, the power generation. Lake Powell right now is sitting at 35, 31 as of yesterday. That'd be May 31st, which I've never seen it that low. It's almost 100 feet below the last low level. I think the last low levels for the Colorado River chain when you go to like Mead and Powell was in 15 or 16. But we're at unprecedented levels. So if we go over here to Mead, let me just pull that up, 1047. Incredible. But here's the new information, which is not really new. It's been out for a couple weeks now. So, and I think I've mentioned this before, is so what they've done, there's a huge water compact in a lot dealing with water use. One, they're supposed to restrict some of the usages, but two, they're drawing down other reservoirs that are in the basin that goes in the Powell. So you got up the chain from Powell, you follow the Colorado River up. You have other reservoirs that are in Colorado. Blue Mesa in particular is one of them that they've drawn down. They've drawn down to an incredible level, according to people that I know. They've talked about going there and seeing Blue Mesa and just where it's at, unprecedented, and in order to just keep the water flowing steadily in the Powell to, I guess, offset some of this. But then the other thing, which if you look up some of the news articles that's going on in Wyoming, in Utah, more Wyoming than where I've seen a lot of the articles at, talking about their drawdown of Flaming Gorge, when they're going to use that watershed to pump water into Lake Powell and hopefully keep Powell up there, and in order to help Mead eventually. But I think Powell is their first priority, according to what I've read. But we're talking about dropping Flaming Gorge down 10, 15 feet. That's a lot of water. I mean, it's not as much water as you take like a Powell or Mead, where those things have dropped 100 vertical feet. You think about the amount of water that is. But one, 10 to 15 vertical feet in Flaming Gorge is usually a fairly steady reservoir. That's a pretty big deal. Blue Mesa as well. That's a huge deal. But eventually you run out of these, I guess, call them safety mechanisms in the West with what's going on with the increased amount of burden on the water supply and the drought conditions. But usually when I'll go on to the snowpack usually, even though we've had late season snows now and a fairly decent snowpack in a lot of the regions, and typically you'd see this time of year water levels rising, which I don't see that trend at the moment. Um, if we're peaking, usually you peak here, I think in June, May, June, and maybe July. Because if you look at some of the Rocky Mountains, you still have a little bit until when you get into late June, some snowpack up there. But it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. I look at the trends. Their water level has been trending up, but this is the time of year where you need that good snowpack, that good runoff to give you something. I think we've only gone up, you know, I think we hit 1050, and then we've been on Mead, and now we're going down again. And same with Powell. But you know what? Lake Navajo. That's sorry. I just train of thought. I just got brain fart. Navajo Reservoir, Southern Colorado. I believe goes through the San Juan Arm and goes in there. So that's another lake. I don't know what they would do with that, because I think there's other jurisdictional issues with releasing water there. But the point being is you can only release so much water from these other reservoirs to stop the bleeding on these massive, gigantic reservoirs like Powell and Mead. But I'm going to go through, so I'll wrap it up here. But what I want to do is I want to go through the ramps and just give you like a little bit of situational awareness about the ramps if you happen to go to Lake Powell. To be honest, I would love to go right now, because Powell probably doesn't have that much pressure on it. Even when you did have pressure on it, you can get away from everybody. Same with Mead to a certain extent, but Powell's really like that. And I don't mind going when there's a lot of people. You just get away, and there's fish on that lake that's never seen a lure. I guarantee it. But same with Mead, is if you can just get out there, I'm sure there's not going to be as much pressure. But anyway, we go down. Powell has a number of ramps. The more ones that most of us are familiar with are Wawee, Bullfrog, and Antelope Point. Those are like the ones that I'm most familiar with, and I think most people are. And right now, every one of them, I mean, there's a number of other ramps. Some of them are more primitive on Powell, like Farley Canyon. I don't think you've in height. We used to be a good marina, but that's been out for a long time. And you can look at some of the levels here. I remember launching at Blue Notch. That's one thing, and that thing is not even I mean, that's a primitive site, but you're not getting anywhere. But some of these launch ramps, let's take like a height, which used to be a legit launch ramp, 113 feet below safe launch, and that's not. I don't think they take into account the silt. But anyway, we're looking at all of them are unusable, and it says go to main marinas. Now I don't know. This doesn't take into account whether they've put extensions in or the precarious nature of what's left. Because I know like a Bullfrog, it's not, the concrete, which they put in extra concrete, is now, you're beyond the concrete to get in there. You can still launch. It's not going to be fun. And you have to watch out for debris and rocks and whatnot that because you normally wouldn't have. But anyway, they're all pretty much unusable, and it tells you to go to the main marinas or main channel. So you basically unpal. What you can do, find flat areas where you can put your boat in. Now, you better be cognizant of it. If you got one of these $80,000 rigs, plus or $80,000+ rigs, like how you're launching that boat in there, because there are drop offs, there is some mud, and then you also have just rocks and stuff. Now, that's Lake Powell. So if you can get out there, I'm sure the fishing is going to be off the wall, good. Especially on the northern end. Northern end is like where I like to go. It ought to be just unbelievably good. Mead, on the other hand, unless I don't even know if there's a ramp. They don't even have anything listed on here. Where I'm looking at, from what I know, a lot of the ramps are closed completely. They might be working on something. But last time I was there, like I said, in last year for the U.S. Open, they extended the Calvo Bay one, and it was just crappy either way. I jacked out my trailer trying to relaunch because it was so steep when they put the metal, whatever, this big metal plate down for an extra part of the ramp. You could only essentially use one side safely, like a normal ramp, and then you had 200 something boats going on that. Now, if you go to Temple Bar, I'm not too for sure on how that would, or how that would manage. I'm sure you probably get in the water over there. But I'm going to say, just like Powell, every time anywhere you go on there, you launch, it's going to be precarious and you're going to have to be cognizant of what you're doing. But if you can get out there, I'm sure that the fishing is a lot better, especially with the decrease in pressure, and also the concentration of fish. Let's just be honest, like you're decreasing the amount of water with the same amount of fish. So there's something's working for you, or it should be working for you. But Lake Powell, in my opinion, probably be the place I'd go in these low water situations. Of course, you need to bring your own stuff. You have to bring your more fuel, because I don't know if you can get to some of the fuel stations. I know, like Bullfrog, there was hardly anybody there when I had a family member go down there recently, and to the point where I don't know if they'll keep the place open at certain times of the year. You need to check. But if it was me, like I've always done, is you bring extra fuel and food and stuff, and just go out and be more self-sufficient about it. It is, not like back east where you get a hotel and stuff and hang around and can go to the gas station, go get food, go hit Mickey D's. It's not like that even when it was good. But what else here's the data that I was looking for. The inflows for Wyoming and rivers feeding these things, I mean, pretty much they're below average. Let's put it that way. They're like significantly below average. But I'm going to leave it there. That's my, this is June 1st, so I'm just giving you the update on these systems that like are near and dear to my heart and to a lot of people out west. I grew up fishing Lake Powell and Mead. I love them. They're beautiful. The scenery is awesome. The fishing is just spectacular. Even when the fishing's not great, you're just like in this, almost like it feels like you're going back a century or whatever. The lack of development on there is awesome. I love it. You can always get away from people for the most part, and you never know what you're going to catch in these lakes. Like, unlike any other body of water I've seen, you can go like to a Powell, I'll wrap this up real quick, catch a largemouth, catch a smallmouth, catch a walleye, catch a northern pike, catch a trout maybe, catch a catfish, catch any number of sunfish, and you don't know when and where you're going to do it. It could be anywhere. But anyway, I'll talk to you later. Peace.